Hello again, my name's Dawn and I am an interior designer, a DIYer and a property investor, and I do quite a bit of content and things like that as well. Basically, I just can't make up my mind what I want to do. However, I have been an interior designer for quite a long time and I really wanted to do a video on what it's actually like to be an interior designer, because I feel like it's really important for especially students to go in like fully understanding what the job entails, because I definitely didn't. And so basically I'm quite a creative person. I like making things and I like seeing the transformation, and that is the part of the job that I loved. But the job itself actually comes with a hell of a lot of other aspects, and some of them I didn't really like. So when I tell people I'm an interior designer, their normal reaction is, oh, and I get the impression that people think that I'm going in, I'm picking paint colors, I'm like picking cushions and bits of furniture. And there are jobs where that actually does happen. They just want like cushions and colors and stuff like that. But if you are a proper interior designer, then you will usually get a little bit more involved in some of the construction parts of an interior design project. And quite a lot of the time you'll be working with contractors and you'll be having client meetings. And when you are designing, there's a bunch of things that you obviously have to do. And the way that I normally do things is I have a client meeting, I gather a brief of what it is that they want, their timescales, their style ideas, if they've got a Pinterest board or anything like that. Anything to help me kind of get into their head as to what they're actually looking for. Remember, when you're an interior designer, you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for somebody else. And I think, especially when I've watched some of those interior design programs, a lot of them struggle with that. You're designing for a client, they're relying on you for your expertise to be able to create their vision. So the briefing stage is very important, because if you just go in, some people, they have very little brief and they just want you to get on with it, which is fine. But some people have a very specific style that they like and they want to tie in with. Some clients will actually seek you out if you have a specific style that they like. I know plenty of designers that have built a business based on their own style, but you do still have to make sure that you fully get a full brief from the client in order to understand their likes, dislikes, practical issues like family setup, all that stuff. So you go in, you get a brief, you measure up. You need to know how to measure up. There's a lot of AI software that is coming about, which is going to help with measuring. And I'm probably going to do a video series on AI software for interior designers at a later stage, but not right now because I don't know enough about it. So you need to understand how people live. You need to be able to measure. You need to be able to plan your space coherently and practically. You need to be able to draw floor plans and elevations, whether that is, I did know quite a few designers who'd never used CAD software, everything was hand drawn. Me personally, that's a massive faff, especially if you need to make adjustments for a client. So I always use CAD software. I am in the market for some new cheaper CAD software. So again, I'll probably do that in a video at a later stage, like cheap software for interior designers who work by themselves. 3D designs, I used to do all of mine. I used to be able to create CGIs in Vectorworks, which was the software that I used. And I also used to be able to create 3D visuals in Photoshop. It's got to the point more recently where I've realized that it's actually not cost effective for me to do it because it takes a long time. It's not my specialist area. And sometimes it's easier to outsource it to somebody who only does that and they're using much better software than me. So 3D designs, you need to know how to do kitchens and bathrooms, even if it's like a basic overview and you're actually using somebody else to kind of spec it up and do like kitchen CGIs and stuff like that. You need to know about lighting, furniture sourcing, quoting and budgeting. We use software for all of that. Ordering and like working with trades, site visits, problem solving, and it's like there's a whole heap of stuff that is actually just involved in the design process. Things that I think that people don't really know is that you actually have to be quite good at sales. And just so you know, I'm rubbish at sales, so that's not helpful. You also if you are setting up on your own, then you need to be good at all the business basics as well. This I had to learn all on my Todd 14 odd years ago. So if I just give you a bit of background, I set up by myself about 14 years ago. And I had to do all of this. Like I had to learn how to do my accounts, like get an accountant as well. I had to learn how to set up like a business, how to do all the branding, like all of that, website, everything. I had to learn how to do that or work out who to outsource it to. So if you're looking to set up by yourself, then those are parts of the things that you need to eventually be able to do. You can just start designing for people and not worry about those instantly. So if you're working for somebody else, that is obviously a different matter. I actually highly recommend working for somebody else so that you can see their processes and learn from them initially. I didn't have that luxury because I graduated, which was very irritating. I graduated in interior architecture in 2009 after the housing crash, and there were quite literally 0 jobs going. So I didn't have much choice. I had to go into bathroom sales and design for about 18 months, which gave me a good background in bathrooms, which is why I specialize in that. And then I got sick of it and I couldn't get another job. So I thought, do you know what, sod it, I'm going to set up by myself and just start designing. So I would have loved to have worked for another company initially, just to get that kind of, so it wasn't so painful me setting up my own business and working out all the processes and systems. So yes, highly recommend that just for like work experience and things like that. And then if you want to carry on working for them, then you obviously can. It's much more secure and you don't have to worry about the business aspects of it. Some of the pros of being an interior designer. So you get to be creative. That was always my number one thing. I love creating stuff. I think most of us, that is the main reason that we get into it. I think a lot of us are probably that kind of brain, I can't remember if it's left or right, but the creative side of the brain, possibly a little bit neurodivergent, not everyone, but that tends to be the creative side of society. You get to be creative and you get to see your work transform a space and visualize something in your head and get it out there. That was my most favorite part of the whole process. The other thing is you get to make people really, really happy. Like when they see the results and they're happy with the results, you get to really make people very, very happy with their homes, with if you're doing other things like hotels or things like that. And it's very, very satisfying to do that. Some of the cons, it is not all creativity. So this was the part that I sort of struggled with. There's a lot of admin, emailing, quoting, invoicing, ordering, chasing deliveries. Suppliers are a pain, just so you know. Then it's like scheduling and making sure that the project is running correctly. You have to be organized. So what I used to find quite a lot when I worked in like teams is that you'd get people that were super creative and fantastic at that side of it, but they weren't necessarily very good at the organization and like the basically the organization of everything. So I used to find that a certain amount. Another con of being an interior designer is sometimes the clients. If you probably about 95% of my clients in the last 14 years have been absolutely amazing. Like, I've loved working with them. They've been a pleasure, and I still meet some of them for coffee. There is that very small minority of people that if you get stuck in a project with them, are going to quite frankly ruin your lives. I've got two clients in mind. One I had to call a solicitor over. It was very upsetting at the time. And the other one, I essentially got thrown off the project for a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into it, but it wasn't a very nice situation. It wasn't a very nice client. So as a creative person, those ones affect you a hell of a lot more than all the good clients put together. So I still think about those. And actually, after I had, they came at a similar time. Like, there was 1 year where I had this, and that actually made me stop wanting to be an interior designer altogether. So you essentially have to have quite thick skin if you're going into this, or you need to be working with people who have a thick skin, who can deal with them for you. That is if you're working for yourself. So yes, clients can be difficult. There are also a couple of other things that you need to be aware of. Is people's expectations of what you can do with their budgets, and having unrealistic budgets for that. You always have to make sure that you get a budget from someone. And I know that from first-hand experience. A colleague of mine went into a multi-million-pound house, and they said what they wanted. She assumed that there was not a small budget, and she went in with her proposed scheme, and she got a very crappy email afterwards, basically throwing her off the project because she'd completely overspent. And you never know where people want to spend their money. You can get clients who have massive houses, like posh cars, who are actually very, very, I want to say tight, but frugal, just to keep on the right side of everyone. So equally, you can have clients with very small houses that actually have quite big budgets. I had one in Surrey, and I was concerned about what the budget might be when I went into her property, lovely property. And she had quite a healthy budget. So fantastic. So there's clients. So this next point is when things go wrong on a project. It can be extremely stressful. I was chatting to another interior designer not that long ago, and she was telling me about a client where they'd got everything sorted. It was the last bits going in. She was putting some banquette seating in, carpets had gone in, like a bunch of stuff. Somebody drilled into a pipe, cream carpets, and they drilled into the wall, into a pipe, and it squirted radiator water all over these beautiful cream carpets. And this was like something like a day or two before a big party that they were having. Horrendously stressful. And these things do happen, which is why you also need adequate insurance. So when things go wrong, they can become extremely stressful. So you need to, like I said, like our sorts of characters, generally speaking, tend to be very creative and tend to be, I want to say, more on the sensitive side. I'm speaking from personal experience. So you just need to be aware of that. So the other point that I'd like to make is the income from interior design, if you're working for yourself, is not always consistent. What I have found over the last nearly decade and a half is that it tends to be feast or famine. So you will get a whole flurry of projects all come at once. You won't know how you're going to handle it. And the money will be rolling in. And the next minute it is like tumbleweeds, and that can go on for long periods of time. So it's always important to keep a certain amount of money in your account and not go spending it all. So that I have found that consistently, and I've spoken to other designers and they also find that as well. If there is, because you are part of the luxury market, if there is a wobble in the market, like financially, you will find that any of your high-end clients will suddenly shut their purses. And that happened to a designer that I know, where it was a few years ago. She'd built up a big team. She had, there was, I can't remember what happened, but there was basically a wobble in the London housing market, or maybe not even London. I think it was just in general. Wealthy people who are involved in finance, they get a whiff of scarcity in society and they will just close ranks. So she ended up losing something like 3 projects in the space of a few months. And these were all like funding all of these designers, their income. So she ended up having to make a bunch of designers redundant, and it was all very heartbreaking. And when that happens as well, it tends to be a little bit difficult to get another job, because every interior design company is in a similar position. So it's just something that it's not like a stable career, like something like every day that you get, I don't know, like people always need to go to the supermarket. So if you're involved in supermarkets, then I don't know what you'd be involved in, like a manager of a supermarket. I have no idea. It's the creative luxury industry, and it will be affected by market turns. That's the same as, like I was saying earlier, I graduated in 2008, and it was horrendous trying to get, well, I didn't get a job. I'm still bitter about that. Can you tell? So that is some of the cons. When I say about needing to be involved in sales, that is a small aspect of the part of you can sell it naturally, because you're creative and you like what you produce, and if you've listened to the client enough, then you will understand. But just sometimes there is a certain aspect of sales, and I've never been good at sales, but creativity I'm good at. Things that people don't expect. So you need to know some basics in construction, otherwise you're going to look a bit silly in front of contractors. And they will test you as well, because at the end of the day, that's what they do. I've had a few, especially when I was younger, who would challenge me on site, based like a knowledge challenge, which was always fun and very patronizing. But as you get older and you start to go grey, people do that less. And to be honest, I'd bite back now. So anyway, understanding a certain amount of construction, if you're dealing with various things that require building work and building control and building regulations, you should have a basic knowledge, or at least, sorry, someone was at the door. So you do need to have a basic understanding of like building regulations and just generally keeping people safe. You don't need to be able to do everything yourself, obviously. I spent about like 12 years of my life not getting involved in the actual construction side of it. Nowadays, I will sometimes get involved in some joinery and decorating and things like that. So I've rounded my knowledge when it comes to actual physical work as well. That is not everyone's bag, so that's fine. So the next thing that you need to kind of understand as part of the job is you need to be able to problem solve. So when you start ripping things out, there will usually be hiccups and things that you hadn't anticipated and stuff like that. And you need to be able to work through that problem and come up with a solution. And I suggest making clients aware before you start as well that this is a possibility, that once you rip out, there might be changes. It might cost them a bit more money as well, so they need to have a contingency. And just having that awareness that things aren't always as they seem. I had a bathroom the one time, and there was some boxing in the wall, and I assumed that the soil stack was in it. And when everything was ripped out, it turns out it wasn't, and I had to completely change the design. So there's things like that do happen. So don't make assumptions and be prepared to have to problem solve. Another point is you need to have more than just good taste. You need to do all of those things as part of the planning process and the organization and just scheduling. And we do a lot of scheduling because you need to be on top of, if you're doing multiple rooms, it racks up a lot of products and you need to be able to organize that. You also need to be able to manage people. That is the clients and the contractors. Sometimes you have to manage clients' emotions. I've had a client cry on me. I've had a couple of clients cry on me. Nothing that I did. I think one was a TV unit had been put on the wall in the wrong place by the contractor who didn't follow my guideline. And the client started crying. So yeah, anyway, you need to be able to deal with people. Right, so what else? Do you need a degree? I am going to be very blunt about this, and this is coming from somebody who has a degree. No, you do not need an interior design degree. I got a degree in interior architecture. I did not need that. I still have debt from it. And I personally think that degrees have been, and generally expensive ways of teaching this, they're a way of leveraging you. And I actually get really cross about it. The whole idea that all you need to do is get experience. You don't need to go and spend 20, 30 grand on a course to just start up in debt when you could have started learning from someone. Even if you're just learning for free, it's better than losing money. And I will argue fiercely about this because I was so bitter and twisted about the amount of debt that I racked up at university, and I didn't need it. So you need to be able to learn software. That is done by using software. You just play around with it until you understand how to use it, and go on YouTube. You need to know the processes of designing, and you can learn that from, again, probably YouTube, and also by just shadowing someone. A lot of the building regulations, you can quite literally buy little books, or again, YouTube. I'm going to annoy a lot of people who run courses for interior design, but I feel like it is absolutely a way of leveraging you to think that you are going to get more money if you do a course. True, there are some companies that would prefer you to have a degree, but if you have built up a wealth of knowledge, or if you're starting on your own, you don't need it. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but it really is something that annoys me. So this is another thing that I've never been particularly good at. Networking is key. If you can get in with architects and contractors, they are the ones, design and build contractors are great. If you can get in with them, they will continually feed you clients. And then when you do a good job for one client, then you'll get another. It's a really, really good way of building up your client base. So networking and just basically showing your value to them is a good thing. I've never been good with networking. I have no patience for it. So take from that what you will. But I suggest it's probably a good thing to do. How do interior designers make money? So there's a few different ways. Obviously, you can work for a design company, you can freelance, you can work for clients directly, and you can make money by charging them a design fee. And then you can either make money from the procurement. So the way that a lot of us work is we buy products at a trade price, and we will say to the client, we will buy at trade plus 15%. That tends to be the standard for contractors. It's not necessarily the standard for interior designers. They tend to try and make more money. But I try and work off the basis of 15% because I work with a lot of contractors and I don't want them undercutting me. So you can also work on a percentage of project costs. So whatever the project costs, you make a percentage on that, and I think a lot of architects do that. You can make money for project coordinating. So what I tend to do is I will charge a design fee. I will, if I'm procuring, then I will make trade plus 15. Then the client makes a certain amount, it like saves a certain amount of money as well. They don't feel like they're out of pocket. And then I will also charge for project coordination if they're looking for me to get the trades in, and I will just generally coordinate the whole thing. So that's how I tend to make money. Right, this is probably one of the bigger questions. Would I do it again? I always think that people, their path is their path. And it doesn't really matter. I can't go back in time and I can't change it. And I have made a lot of friends through this, and I have learnt a lot. And now that I'm getting older, I have learnt what I like and what I don't like. And I am trying to steer sort of away from interior design. I've realised that I do have a very clear skill set, and as an interior designer, I can't fill all of the roles that it requires. I also am not a massive fan of working for clients. I want to do my own thing. Which is probably why I started getting involved in property investment, because I thought, oh, it's like interior design, but without the clients. You also don't have the budgets. Anyway, so I don't like managing clients' expectations. I can't stand it when things go wrong. I have a very low stress tolerance. So in actual fact, people think it's a very fluffy job. It can be highly stressful. The other thing is I've never been able to, and this is me talking freely and vulnerably, I've never been able to make the money that I wanted to make as an interior designer. And I think it is because I don't have all the skill sets that a designer needs, or a designer needs with a partner who has that skill set. I highly recommend that as well. I've known a few designers who have worked with somebody that was much more right brain, I can't remember, much more logical and not creative, and like they did all the business processes. So I recommend that works very well. There's a lot of uncertainty and with the job with interior design in terms of the projects. I also hate marketing. I don't want to market. Like, it's just not something that I really want to do. I don't want to be marketing my business. That sounds really stupid. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So would I do it again? I think if I knew everything, I would try and find a career path where I could do the things that I like and less of the things that I don't like. So I would probably be an interior designer just flipping houses, and I would have started that from the get-go. I'm doing that now-ish, but obviously I've been a designer for a long time. I have kids now and whatnot, so it's much harder when you have like financial responsibilities and stuff like that. So my final thought is, part of the reason I was doing this is because I want people going in with eyes wide open as to what this job is. I do think that the trajectory of interior design is going to adjust with AI. And that is why I'm probably going to start researching the various, because I'm doing property investment. I am going to be looking for tools, AI tools that are going to help me be more efficient with my design and processes when it comes to doing that. So I think the trajectory is going to change quite dramatically with AI. It will still always be there, but I think that people will probably become more design managers as opposed to interior designers, or they will just be able to spit out a lot more projects, which take from that what you will, but it may not be everyone's cup of tea. So my recommendation is, if you are going to do a course, I'd look very carefully at the price of it and whether they are including some AI stuff, because if you are going in now to a course and they're not teaching you anything AI related, I would say that they're very out of date. So again, I'll probably get some hate for that, but hey ho. Anyway, it sounds like a very glamorous job. I hope I've given you a good overview on what it's actually like. And then you can make like an informed decision as to whether it is a career that you want to do, or whether there is potentially a similar career that aligns a bit better with everything you want in life. Because the other reason I'm doing that is I don't feel like I did, which is a shame. Like I said, I made lots of friends. I've had some amazing clients. Would I do it again? I would have probably looked a little bit more carefully as to what I wanted in life, but potentially I didn't know back then. So like I said, our path is our path, and everything that you do up to this date gets you to this point. So I hope that was helpful. If you like my rambling, then please like, subscribe. Like I said, I am looking to kind of sidestep the interior design thing and potentially do a lot more on the whole telling you various things, teaching you various things when it comes to interior design, some DIY, and like software, just basically teaching you things on whatever, YouTube, social media, that are going to help you in your career path. So anyway, see you in the next video.